Hello to everybody out there. This is Wolfgang, and as I'm stuck at home because we have a lockdown here in Austria, and I'm pretty bored, so I thought maybe I do a video for YouTube to keep myself entertained and maybe add some to your knowledge and offer you a little help. And in this video, I want to talk about how to start when you want to listen to jazz. And I want to talk a little bit about the different jazz fans I found. I'm sure there are more. Just when I think about what I see on YouTube, and in these times now, I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos. I'm thinking about, this is this kind of guy, this is this kind of guy. So I made a little list of eight different types of jazz fans I found. And these types give you different recommendations. So, and I'm not saying these recommendations are wrong. I think it's just when you know where a guy is coming from, or maybe what else is in his mind, you can handle this information better for your taste, and you can pick out what's helping you and leave out what maybe is not the right thing for you. So this is all. I'm not saying this is all wrong and I know it better. This is not the point of this video. It's just a kind of looking behind the curtain, or looking behind these persons, and why they sometimes give this or that recommendation. And in the end of the video, I will give you some easy tips, what I think is a good way. So let's start with the first type, and the first type is me, the jazz musician himself. I'm a jazz musician and a jazz educator. I teach at the university in Vienna. My instrument, I'm a guitar player, jazz guitar player. So normally musicians listen to music different. Not better, just different. When we listen to music, we analyze it. So when a musician gives you a recommendation, I would be careful, because maybe this is something you cannot connect to. When this musician is an educator too, maybe it can be better, because then he maybe thinks about what he's saying and well, this is a beginner and I should recommend this or that, which is easier to get. So first type, the jazz musician. Be careful with the jazz musician. Next, the original pressing fetishist. I have some notes here, so when I'm looking down, sometimes it's to watch my notes. So the original pressing guy is the guy who tells you, well, only original gives you the real information of the music. You have to have the original to get all this spirit extruded to to really know how this music is and what this music's gonna tell you. This is wrong bullshit. So listen to it on every format you want: streaming, CD, vinyl records. I'm a vinyl guy. Also, with these old pressings, they are pressed for old systems. So today's systems sound totally different. I would be critical with original pressings just because of this. And I have some, and they sound different and not automatically best, because they are built for systems from the 50s. And today we have different technology. Even with vinyl records, we have different record players, different speakers and everything. Okay, the next guy, the limited period guy. And this is for me very dangerous, because there are people out there who have a deep love and deep understanding of jazz from the 50s and 60s, and they will tell you this is the real period of jazz. And this is totally wrong. Jazz is a living music that's now around for more than 100 years. And it's always evolving. It's always reflecting the time where it's made of. And if you limit yourself to just a certain period, whatever that period is, I think you're missing out on a lot of good music. These guys normally have a big understanding of a very small period, but ignore nearly everything. And very often these guys are not the guys who are going to concerts, so they don't even connect to today's jazz. They sit alone at home with their record collection, treasuring their records. It's more like a jazz museum. But jazz is not museum music. Jazz is a living thing, and it happens today. It's not as popular as it was. It's not selling big, but it's still happening today, everywhere on the planet. The next guy is the audiophile. And I would also be very critical by recommendations from audiophiles, because normally, not every time, but normally, they use the music to listen to their system. They are not using the system to listen to their music. Okay? So they recommend you records which have a great sound stage and this blah blah blah, deep analyzing, blah blah blah. You can hear this and that, but maybe you don't like the music. So for a normal music listener, all these audiophile parameters, which is good and which is a bad recording, don't count. So I would be careful with following these recommendations. It has to be a music lover, not an equipment lover. Okay? The next guy is the avant-garde fetishist. He only listens to avant-garde music. Let's be clear, avant-garde music was there only for a very small time period. And it had something to do with political statements. It had something to do with musicians who were searching behind the boundaries of harmony, of form, of rhythm, of everything. And I'm not saying these are bad records or this is a bad style. It's just normally not the style for a beginner. If you are a beginner, stay away from it. With one exception. If you like Captain Beefheart Trout Mask Replica and you are a rock fan who has a sense for the weird, if you like Frank Zappa, then maybe give Pharoah Sanders or the late John Coltrane a chance, and maybe there's something in it for you. Otherwise, if you have a pretty much normal taste like most of the people, I would be very careful with avant-garde music. And close to the avant-garde guy is the spiritual guy. A lot of these records, there's nearly written on it spiritual jazz. And sorry, this to me, this is my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I don't get it, but for me this is total bullshit. I mean, there is not one word that's more BS to me than spiritual jazz. If you want to listen to spiritual music, maybe you should listen to Johann Sebastian Bach and music he wrote for the service in the church. Maybe that's spiritual music because it's used in a spiritual environment. But spiritual jazz, this is an advertising thing. And these records, I mean, who bought these records? You know, this was a hippie thing. You know, if you're smoking pot or taking a trip and then listening to spiritual jazz, maybe something happens. But if you're not that kind of guy and you don't doing drugs, then spiritual jazz to me is a joke. I always have to laugh when these collectors put out spiritual jazz. That they say spirituals is like a quality stamp on the record. You know, this is spiritual. It's more than regular because it's jazz plus spiritual extra. So, to me this is totally bullshit. The next one is the guy who only listens to old jazz. He only listens to Louis Armstrong and all these old acts. And there's nothing wrong with this music. God, no. I love Louis Armstrong. He's one of the most important figures in jazz. But again, these are types of listeners who stuck in a time period. As I said before, jazz is a living thing. So you should listen to Louis Armstrong and to Duke Ellington and to Count Basie, and I do, and I love them. Still, I love them. But there happened much more in the last 100+ years than this. Music involved. And a lot of these guys maybe play amateur music in a Dixieland band on the weekends, and so they have their little treasured music that they play and they think that's the greatest. So be careful with these guys too. The next one is the guy who just found out about jazz, and he just bought a few jazz records, and he's so excited that he makes a video and gives you recommendations about the records he just found. In this case, I mean, it's nice when the buck hit him, but what I see on YouTube is a lot of people making videos and talking about, but have no bigger understanding what they talk about. They only have a very limited knowledge, but they have a camera and make a video and give some recommendations. So I would be careful here. Better listen to guys who are really into this music and have a broad perspective of this music. So I think I had them all. I think I mentioned 8 guys. So now let's talk about some other BS that you hear maybe, that I heard in the past. Normally when I hear this, I shut off. Then it's okay, forget it. One is, you have to listen to the old stuff first to understand the new. This is totally, it's like someone says, well, you have to listen to Deep Purple first because then you understand Metallica. You have to listen to Beatles first because then you understand Elton John. This is, I don't get it how people can make this recommendation. I really don't get it. Because music is there to be enjoyed, to listen to enjoy it, and there's no science behind it, and there's no deeper understanding. Which does not mean you cannot go down the rabbit hole and dig deeper. Sure, if you want, go ahead. I did it. Sure, it's nothing wrong with this, but you don't have to. This connection in the argument to say first you have to understand the old, then you can understand the new. It's like kind of development the music made, and you have to start at the beginning. This is totally wrong. In the end, it's a record. You put it on your player, you listen to it, you enjoy it, or you don't. And that's it. That's all about there's nothing more. It's just when you develop a deeper interest, then you can, and then maybe you should, but you don't have to. It doesn't limit your experience. Next super bullshit is jazz only stands for a certain period. And mostly when guys say this, they say it's about the end of the 60s. And in the 70s, it became something else that is connected to jazz, but is not jazz anymore. Okay. So because there was maybe a fusion or an influence from R&B and funk or from rock, now it's not jazz anymore because it doesn't have the swing rhythm. But before, as it was bossa nova and it put the Latin, it fusioned with the Latin rhythm, it was jazz. So these guys picking out a point where the music made a bigger step forward, and now they categorize it and say, this is real jazz, this is something else. And they always say this in this kind of nice way, this is something else. But in the end, they want to degrade it. They always say, oh, this has no blues in it anymore. So what? So classical music also has no blues in it. So blues is just one fragrance, one herb, one spice that's in jazz. I like it when it's there, but it doesn't have to be there. Especially here in Europe, there are a lot of guys who come from the classical music side and listen to jazz. They are not so easy to connect with this blues stuff. They connect more to very modern jazz. So is this then not jazz because there's no blues in it? Sorry, this is wrong. This is totally wrong. There are so many different styles of jazz. Unbelievable. So many ways to play this music and to pick out a time period and say, this is real jazz and this is something else. Wrong and stupid. Yeah, there's one also. You have to understand theory, music theory, to understand jazz, because jazz is so complicated. So you have to study music theory, or you have to play a little by yourself, then you understand jazz. No, you can, but you don't have to. As I said before, jazz is a music like everybody else. So if you like it, listen. If you don't like it, buy something else. That's it. So, what can I recommend? My tips would be, ask your local record dealer. Because, in general, he wants to keep you as a customer. So if you have a record dealer and he knows you, and he knows your taste, he can connect to it. If he knows, well, you buy all these Frank Zappa records and you buy Captain Beefheart records or what, then he will say, well, I think this guy needs something different, you know. This guy needs something maybe far out, maybe some free stuff. But if he sees you and you buy mostly today's music, pop music, then he maybe gives you an Astro Gilberto record or a Stan Getz record to connect or to find your way into jazz. And in general, these guys want to keep you as a customer, so they try to recommend music to you that you are happy with, because when you're happy, you come again. As simple as that. Next, and a very important recommendation, go to concerts. Jazz is live music. The record is a secondary product. So if you have a jazz club in your area or close to you, go there. Watch the program. Watch who's playing. Go to concerts. Because life is a totally different thing. I had one thing here in Austria. Austria is not a jazz country per se. I had a trio, guitar, bass and drums. And I heard this so often that people came to me after the concert and say, well, to be honest, I don't like jazz, but I like what you did because I saw how you were communicating on stage and how you played together and how you enjoyed it. It made me to enjoy it. It made me to connect to you. I saw that you really enjoy what you are doing, and it helped me to get into the music. So life is a totally different thing, and this would be my most important recommendation. And the next one is, if you like the concert, buy a record from this artist, because you listen to today's music, today's jazz. Hank Mobley concerts are out. John Coltrane records, Miles Davis concerts are not happening because these guys are dead. So you listen to today music, you listen to an artist you saw on stage. You can remember this evening if you enjoyed the music. If you've been there with your wife, you put the record on, you remember maybe a nice evening you had, a nice dinner you had before. So there's something to connect. Also with jazz musicians, very often when you meet them on the bar, you can talk to them. You can invite him, pay him a beer and have a little chat. Talk with him, let him sign the record. So I think this is very important that you connect to the music on many ways and not just have this product at home and put it on the table. For me, I had the chance to play with some of these guys, and it's great when you listen to them again, because I know him. I remember the time I had with him and as we played together and what I enjoyed and maybe what I didn't enjoy. Also this. So it gives you the whole experience. Go to concerts. Maybe you have a friend who is a collector. Well, this is not a great tip, I know, but have this in mind, you know. Maybe you have a friend you can trust, or maybe you have a friend who knows you and he's into jazz. So let him give you some recommendation. There is no shame in saying, well, I don't know, help me. Every record collector is happy to help you. We all want to share. This is our biggest hobby. Music is my life. When I can help someone to get into music, it's the greatest thing. When I teach my students, this is fantastic. You see how they develop the music, and you help them. This is a very, very good thing. There's no shame in saying, I don't know, help me. Okay? Yeah, and the last one is simple. If you get a recommendation and you are not sure, go on Spotify. Before you buy, check out on Spotify, I would say. Because Spotify gives you a service. I think this is not the right way to listen to music. It's the right way to check out new music. But I would also be careful only to check out on Spotify, because all this stuff, YouTube, all this Google stuff, it's based on search algorithms. So you're not getting the real picture. You get the picture of these guys who paid the most for advertising or were clicked the most by other guys. So I would be careful. But if someone tells you, well, check out this Dave Brubeck record, you can go on Spotify, listen to it and say, well, maybe this is something I want to get into, and then you buy the record. This prevents you to spend your money on records you don't listen to. Okay? So at last, if you're still here and still listening, the last one is the music student, and most everything I said now is different for the music student. Because if you study music, if you want to be a musician, then listen to everything and be open, and even check out music you don't like. First, you don't know, and maybe in 2 or 3 years it changes. Your taste is changing, especially when you're doing music every day. You listen, you're playing every day, then your taste will change over the years. So maybe you don't like it today, but you will like it in 2 or 3 years. Also, you have to know what's going on. If you are a music student, you have to know what's going on. I'm often surprised with students who start out with me that they only know just such a limited amount of music. When there's so much music out there, not only jazz, everything. But this is the only exception. Otherwise, if you're just a consumer, I hope I helped a little with my recommendations. So that's it. There's nothing more to say. I hope there's some help in this video, and it would be nice if you give me a thumb up, leave something in the comments. Even if you don't like what I say, type in, because then I at least know your opinion. I have no problem with critics. So, okay, that's it for now. Stay healthy and a happy 2021. Bye-bye.